Hello and welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. I am your host, Ty Christensen. And I'm joined by Jordan Christensen. Say hello.
Would you like it shaken or stirred? Do I look like I give a dang? Oh, yeah.
And first time on the podcast, welcome, Rich Christensen.
Hey guys, nice to be on board. I'm looking forward to this moment, man. I wish I could have a quip for you about James Bond, but I'll have to save all my good moments for later.
All right. No worries. We don't really come prepared, and we started taking all the good quotes at the beginning because we're fearful that everyone else is going to steal our favorite quote.
It's true. It's so true.
So we all try to steal the best one. So today we are discussing a awesome movie, Casino Royale.
Try a perfect movie.
Facts. Perfect movie. It's... As far as blockbusters go, this is a perfect
Yeah, a perfect blockbuster movie, yes.
Yeah. But pretty good character study, too, which was a pleasant surprise. This movie came out in 2006, directed by, I'm pulling it up here, I should know this, Martin Campbell, or as we used to call everyone named Campbell, Martin Campbell. And the writers were Neil Purvis, he did the screenplay, and Robert Wade. And it stars Daniel Craig, Eva Green, Judi Dench, Mads Mikkelsen, which I love, or Mikkelsen, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Jeffrey Wright, Giancarlo Giannini, and several others.
Wait, which one's the guy from The Hunt?
The Hunt, Mads Mikkelsen.
Okay, I love him.
Yeah, he's great. Plays Le Chief. Just a classic Bond villain.
I'm just telling you, man. I'm totally excited because this is Daniel Craig's first appearance. And he just does a kick job.
Yes.
It's true. Blows it out of the water. I think anyone that had any reservations, because you had someone cool and steely like, Pierce Brosnan, kind of brought back the coolness factor. Because I'll be honest, I've seen some of the old Bond films, and some of them are really nerdy. Not going to lie. So,
well, but it was cool for the time, was it not, Dad?
Back in the day, yeah, it was progressive. It was exciting. Back in the 70s, you had these charismatic guys, the stars back then that were, they smoked a lot. They would drink martinis. They'd wear fancy suits. And wow, that was it. You'd have your tux on. And if you look at Sean Connery, you go back to the old days, he had a tux and a black tie and a white shirt with black wingtip shoes every episode. Come on, that was the motif back then.
Speaking of the martinis and stuff, Dad, have you ever had any of the drinks he described? Because they made it sound like it was like an amazing drink. The guy's like, "Oh, I'll have one of those too." Have you ever had one of the ones he talked about?
I've had martinis. I had a lemon drop and just a basic martini, a dirty martini, which is nothing more than a martini vodka with the olive juice poured in it. But I mean, I've never had something that fancy, no.
Okay.
Not a big drinker, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Not a regular guy. Besides
alcoholic.
that, you're paying $25 a drink. Who's got that kind of money? Not me.
We just want you to admit, Dad, on a podcast so it's recorded that you're a raving alcoholic. We just want everyone to come out about it.
Just put me in treatment. Put me in treatment now.
We just need you to say the words, Dad.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
This is actually, Dad, this isn't a podcast. This is a convention.
Intervention.
Intervention, yeah. You guys have got me here. Yeah, and this is COVID intervention. Because we can't be together, so we're doing it on a podcast. Great.
That's right. Oh, man. Where to begin? Well, it's wild because we originally were going to schedule this podcast to come out right when the
new 007 comes out. Yeah.
Or what's it? I can't even
No Time to Die.
It's called No Time to Die, rather. I always confuse the titles. It just seems like such a weird title to me. But again, I don't know the rich history of No Time to Die.
Wait.
Never.
You think that's a weird title? They came out with a movie called Octopussy. How was that not?
No, that was the character name. Or was that actually
No, that's the name of the movie, Ty.
That's the name of the movie.
Gosh.
I sent you a screenshot of that.
It's Pussy Galore. It's Pussy Galore is the name. See, I was going to laugh when Dad mentioned progressive because, like, I don't even need to get into it. But I'm like, the older Bonds, little rapey, you know? They don't really shy away from it, man. It's just like, hey, if a woman says no, she means yes. according to. Anyway, I don't want to besmirch the late great Sean Connery because died at 90 years old.
Yeah.
And
a moment of silence.
moment
Okay,
of
that's
silence.
enough. Keep going.
That's
This is a podcast. We only have another 40 minutes to go, so keep it rolling.
That's right. That's right. We got no time. Mourn him in your own time. Jordan, do you have the plot recap for Casino Royale?
Yep. After earning 00 status and a license to kill, secret agent James Bond sets out on his first mission as a 007. Bond must defeat a private banker funding terrorists in a high-stakes game of poker at Casino Royale, Montenegro.
Oh my gosh.
Dang.
Montenegro. I had a trip for Montenegro thanks to COVID.
Well,
I mean, I know I sound like a big baller, but it was like a work.
Well,
trip.
the pitch
Anyway.
for this movie sounds great. I don't know why they say it's like one of the scripts that was the least like famous and stuff. Like they said it was not his best book, which is crazy because it's my favorite film out of all.
I think that has a lot to do with the actor.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
Well, and
Right.
I think a lot of big things started to hit at this time too. It was like they were making all these changes, like the what is it called when you're parkour? It was becoming like big thing, which is that one character at the very beginning, like running through all the buildings and stuff. And I don't know, there was the style of fighting. It felt more like I feel like Jackie Chan would have been proud, which I mean he must have been because he later went on to make a movie called The Foreigner with the same director. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like a Bond, like pure action style Bond. It used to be always the gadgets that would get him out of the thing, but this one's just like, I'll fight you based on
Hand-to-hand
Krav Maga,
combat.
kung fu, and all. Yeah, hand-to-hand combat, which is, it's usually like a laser watch or some grappling gun that'll get you out of tight spots. But
The
this
pen,
one's just like
the exploding
will.
pen. The girl grabs it and starts laughing where she blows up.
There's some weird gadgets, and I actually wanted to ask you guys. The one question I was going to ask is like favorite Bond gadget. Do you guys have any?
Oh, it's
before we get
definitely
into
exploding
Casino?
pen for me, but
Exploding pen. I would say the Aston Martin that he drives is always so cool. Ejector seats. It's got guns that come out of the headlights, like miniguns. I think the.
I love that they
is
brought
so
that back
cool.
in Skyfall. That was dope.
Yes.
Well,
yes,
they're
they
going to do I think I saw the trailer for the new one coming out, and it has him doing donuts, and the machine guns come out blazing. So I would not say that they have let that go, but boy, he just tears it up in that show. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah.
I almost. Yeah. Go ahead, Dad.
I was just going to say that I'm glad you invited me on for this one because this is a long tradition for me. Of all the movies I've ever went and seen, it's because my dad had an interest and a fascination for James Bond, Disney movies, Computer Wore Tennis Shoes and old shows like that, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which, by the way, happens to be written by Ian Fleming as well. Did you know that?
Really?
He
I
wrote
didn't even
Chitty
know that.
Chitty Bang Bang. That is hilarious to me.
Did he write the lollipop guy too? Ty, can you do an impersonation, Ty, of the lollipop guy?
But the lollipop guy.
Remember, he's like lollipops.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, the child snatcher, right? Cherry pie, lollipop. Yeah. Oh, that guy scared me
He's so
bad,
creepy.
dude.
All right,
Child
sorry.
snatcher, like
So-
the original pedo in movies.
So
Jeez.
anyway, it goes from once again, Dad, your grandfather was into James Bond. He loved Disney movies and he loved spaghetti westerns. All the ones with the Fistful of Dollars, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Clint Eastwood. I mean, that's how I was raised on movies. So when you guys when I was taking you to movies, I was just dying to take you to stuff like, a James Bond movie or something. We went to a lot of different movies, but, back in the day, it's hard to go to a G-rated movie and find action.
Yeah, well, that's funny you say that, Dad, because I remember growing up and we were talking on the phone and you said to me, you're like, yeah, I'm really into these James Bond movies. And I thought, No, you said I'm really into James Bond, and I thought that was a basketball player. I had no idea what that was growing up. Because
That or
Have you seen this guy's stats? Yeah.
even Mission Impossible. I remember taking all of you into Mission Impossible. I paid like $5 a ticket back then. And we all went in, and Cassandra and Alex were there. Movie starts, and I'm like, this is going to be the best movie. It's so action-packed. It's got all this. About 20 minutes into it, someone said the word shit, and movie was over. And all you kids got up and walked out. I'm like, dang it.
Oh, well, it's so funny that you mentioned Casino Royale. So, Casino Royale, I actually have a vivid memory when this was in theaters. Me and Jordan weren't quite old enough to see such a high, violent movie, Dad. You know, our young, impressionable eyes and ears and ear holes weren't ready to receive it. So, we actually went and saw the glorious movie Happy Feet while you guys all watched this in theaters.
Oh,
but
that's
don't worry,
right.
after we finished Happy Feet, Casino Royale is a much longer movie than Happy Feet. So, after we were done, we still came in enough time to watch Daniel Craig's get tortured, so that was good. So we still walk in not knowing anything about this movie. We still watched the most disturbing scene of the whole movie, so don't worry, we got the best of both worlds. Got to see a terrible action movie with penguins and an environmental eco message where dancing penguins solves global warming and whatever, I don't know, shortage of fish, I don't know, dumb movie. And then we missed out on seeing Casino Royale in full in the movie theater.
Oh my gosh.
Biggest regret growing up, definitely. So,
Oh my gosh.
But you honored Mom's wishes, so but we're better men for it now because we did see this movie later on and it stands the test of time, and Happy Feet doesn't. So
I don't mean to go completely off topic, but when you're talking about animals, like Hollywood is so for save the animals. Like, do you know at the end of movies how sometimes they say no animals were harmed in the making of this movie?
Right.
Well, I just learned that in 40-Year-Old Virgin, they couldn't put that into the credits because apparently 2 fish were killed in the making of it.
2 fish?
Yeah, 2 fish were killed. So they couldn't put that in the credits.
Wait, is that something we see? Because now I'm trying to think of that movie. Was there a scene where they harmed fish?
Steve
Or was
Carell,
that
what was he doing with fish?
Well, no, it was just during the making of it. 2 fish died. I don't know how. They were just killed.
2 fish died, right? Yeah.
So
and the outtakes, there's just a scene where, she just accidentally killed someone.
Someone accidentally
That's so
flushed
sad.
him down the toilet.
I just think it's
That's
funny.
so great.
Anyways,
That
back
is
to
hilarious.
Casino Royale.
All right. So as far as I know, no animals were harmed in the making of this film. We're going to go around and say 2 of our favorite things from this film. Let's start with you, Jordan.
Shoot. There's so much about this movie. It is like a perfect classic in my opinion. So everything from, I guess I'll just try to keep it down to 2. The music obviously is so classic. It's really fun that the same director that made another one of my favorite Bond movies, GoldenEye, made this one. And the reason I love GoldenEye obviously is because growing up, me and Ty couldn't watch it until we were 13, but we did, however, play the GoldenEye video game. So there's just
the Nintendo 64.
there's
GoldenEye.
so much nostalgia for this movie for me. Like, not even kidding. At the very end of the movie, when he said James Bond, like, are you like
Whoa, Bond, James.
Sorry, Bond, James Bond, and the music starts playing. I started to get teary eyed. I was just getting so emotional just thinking about like growing up with this stuff, playing the video games, just going to the theaters when we were younger. I don't know. It brought back so many fun memories. So,
Dude, that's gnarly.
Well, like going back to the theaters, that's so great that you mentioned that, Jordan, because 2 of my favorite things. One is how rewatchable this movie is. This movie is so much fun. I as I was watching, I'm like, oh, this is my favorite scene coming up, and I'm like, I forgot all these scenes were in it. Like, this is one of those movies you can watch over and over and over again, which that's something that you taught me, Dad. When we showed you the movie Elf, we played it once that night for you, the first time we watched it, and then you immediately, after the movie ended, the credits were rolling, you just started the movie over again. Like, and I've never been with someone that was like, we're just gonna watch the same movie again. I absolutely loved it, start to finish. We're just gonna watch it over again.
Dad does that all the time. Do you remember growing up? We watched 3 times in a row. We saw Remember the Titans. Like right after it was done, we stayed in the theater, rewatched it again,
and then we would also see
That
Shrek.
is a fantastic movie. You just wanted to see Shrek fart in the jacuzzi again.
Right,
Want to
right.
see
No,
little
well,
bubbles bubbling.
No.
It's so funny because I remember movie theater days where I'm like, I know all the movies that came out at the same time because we spent the whole day there. So like movie theaters were like our babysitter, right? It was like the perfect pastime. So we would watch Shrek like 2 or 3 times in a day, and then we went over and saw part of The Mummy 2, but that seemed too scary, so we'd go back to Shrek, and then we'd leave Shrek and go into Pearl Harbor. Starts getting too explosion-y and too Michael Bay, so we'd leave and then go back and watch more Shrek, and then end the night off with like, I don't know, what else was playing? Final Fantasy? Was that when the movie came out? Or
Oh my
or it wasn't
gosh.
Final Fantasy. It was that.
Do you remember, Ty, after we watched
Lost in
Shrek?
Space.
After we watched Shrek with Dad, every time we would fight in the car, he would hold up a plastic bottle, and be like, because he's like felonious, and he held up the mirror and smashed it. Dad would say our names, and then he'd smash the water bottle.
Just pummel the water bottle. Ty.
Yeah, but it would get your attention. I don't see what's wrong with that. That's great parenting.
Our dad never really hit us. Yeah, just the threat was there, and that was just enough to make us turn out the way we did. So
Why should I count to 3? 1, 2. That's a waste of my time. Just hold up the water bottle. Give it a punch.
Oh
my gosh.
Got our attention. That's so funny. So yeah, like the rewatchability of this, and then the second is the action sequences. I think, and it kind of plays into how rewatchable it is. I love hand-to-hand combat, even if it's like arguably not even feasible, but I don't even care. Like if someone loses their gun and they have to fight in a hallway, I love that. If they have to fight with swords in a stairwell, that I was just so delighted, because hand-to-hand combat just feels there's so much pressure and so much at stake that it's like close encounters. Knives are flying out, coming out from people's pockets and sheaths. I love this movie.
As opposed to just
action.
a gun going off, you mean?
Yeah, and some gunfire can be fun. Like there's really like if you listen to me rant about John Wick, there's some great gunplay in those films, and like Die Hard. There's a lot of great gunplay in a lot of different films, but for some reason, it takes me back to the Jackie Chan era where it's like the guns get like knocked out and or explicably, right? They like get disarmed, and then it's just hand-to-hand combat, and it's close quarters and kind of using other surroundings as weapons, and they do that again great in the Jason Bourne franchise.
Towel.
But this movie, a
Yes.
towel,
A rope, a bucket, a
random,
paint can, a chair.
a pencil.
Or my favorite, it was when they get on top of the building, and then the guy tries to shoot, and he's out of bullets, then throws the gun, and Bond proceeds to catch the gun, and throw it back and hit him in the face. That was so good.
Oh, it even knocked him off.
It's all in the reflexes, right?
Yeah, I was thinking of Big Trouble in Little China too, Ty.
I love it. So those are my 2 favorite things. How about you, Rich? What's your favorite?
For me, had to be the beginning. That was one of my favorite moments, because it's where he gets his. It's not where he gets his 00 status, but they shoot it, and I'm sure it was shot in color, but due to the low light and the fact that they were doing a look back, they did it all in black and white. And so when I'm watching that, I'm like, okay, they're starting out different than any Bond movie, except for maybe something they made back in the 30s, which was all black and white. But it's like the beginning of Bond. This was actually supposed to be the first Bond, him getting his 00 status.
Good point. Yeah.
So it's black and white. And then he has the conversation with him. The guy pulls the gun out of his drawer and he clicks it on him. And he goes, I know where you keep your gun. And then he goes, but no trouble. And then he finds out that he does have his 00 status because he killed the other guy first. And so he's like, well, no worry. He goes, the second is, and then he shoots him.
Bam!
Bam! And he goes, yes, considerably. Like it's considerably easier to shoot you a second time. My second kill is way easier than the first. Well, because he shot him with the gun. The first guy, it was like brutal.
Oh my
Through the
gosh.
bathroom, and then he ends up strangling him, which is, hey, I swim for a living, and I've got a 4-minute breath hold. If you're going to kill somebody by suffocating them, it's going to take 3 minutes. And they're trying to rush through this sequence, and killing somebody is not an easy thing, especially if you're just suffocating them.
You had to take a class about that. Didn't they say, though, most people that suffocate, it's just because they panic, not because they don't have enough air?
Uh, no, they black out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you black
There's
out.
not oxygen.
Yeah, and then
Not
they
enough oxygen to the brain.
go down,
It's
sit
crazy
on the
though,
bottom
too.
of
I
the.
actually heard, yeah, you don't want to drown in salt water, Dad, and that's why I worry about you, because it's a lot more excruciating than if you drown in fresh water. Just thought you should know that tidbit.
Really?
I didn't
Yeah,
know
that's
that.
what I heard. Yeah, something about the salt water in your lungs. You know, if you fill it up, you're gonna be a lot.
Okay, don't
alive.
freak me out
Yeah, it's
now.
gonna be a lot
Don't
more.
freak me out.
Yeah. So
I'm
drown
gonna
in
keep
the
doing
pool,
what I
Dad.
do.
Do you still hold your breath at night sometimes?
Kelly thinks it's sleep apnea, but no, it's me just sometimes. Like if I'm watching a movie, like any action movie where someone jumps in the water. Oh yeah, I'll hold my breath during the whole sequence
Yes, Dad.
because
you
I
taught
want
us
to
that.
know if
So
it's
we do.
real. Because sometimes they can make that thing look like 10 minutes long, and you're like, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
sometimes
you're
it's
3
just the
minutes
way they
into
cut
it, and I'm like, okay, I'm really feeling it. I hope he gets a breath of air soon, because, Mission Impossible when he went down in that cylinder, and he ended up passing out, and I'm like, well, that's pretty crazy. That one kind of hurt.
that one.
The one that hurt the most was The Rock in that earthquake movie.
Oh.
He had to jump under the movie.
San Andreas.
San Andreas Fault. I followed that one. Literally, when the movie was over, I had a headache. Because I held my breath too many times during that show. It was like ridiculous.
Oh, that's so funny.
Another great movie, Dad. I remember we all held our breath watching Princess Bride together when Princess Buttercup goes into the sand trap. And we all let out a little bit of, we gasped out and yelled, so we lost part of our breath and tried to hold it as long as she did. And of course, Prince Wesley or whatever, he dives in and he had a full breath and he proceeds to pull her out, but it's like almost a minute and a half because the rat crawls around the sand trap. You see the big rodent. Anyway, we're getting way down this rabbit hole, but I love it. And another great movie to hold your breath in is that movie
Poseidon.
What's that? Rogue Wave. Poseidon.
Oh,
the
Poseidon.
There's just so many breath holding scenes where it's like every actor's gonna have to go underwater at some point and try to save everyone or get through a hallway and there's wires and everything. It's crazy, but that's a great movie for it. And we all do this because of you, Dad.
If you're
it's like a
doing that,
tradition.
man, the movie Abyss. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
That's a great one. Yeah,
How many movies are there where people got to hold their darn breath, man? No way. Okay, so my second thing that I liked about it was the one action scene where, because I know it wasn't CG, I know it was real, where they put the cannon underneath the car, and it was at the end when she had just gotten taken after the card game. After they were playing Texas Hold'em.
Oh, yeah.
And he's
The
escaping
car chase.
in his... And what?
She's
He's
in the
only
middle of the
driven
road.
this thing once. She's
Yeah.
in the middle of the road laying there, and it explodes. And that thing, when he turned, rolled at least 13 times. 12, 13. That parts were flying everywhere.
Yeah.
To me, to have them pull off a stunt like that, even though it's just, remote control, however it happened, I don't care. It was so awesome because it wasn't just a CG, thing they could easily create later.
Yeah.
I just thought that was spectacular. Okay, maybe the third thing, well, I know you said two, but the cinematic photography, the way they play French horns and the way the music just kind of played into every moment. I mean, it almost brings a tear to my eye because it's just so beautiful.
Yes. I mean,
I think I want to go there just to go on a vacation.
Well,
real quick, Dad, I want to actually toot your horn there for the barrel rolls. So the Aston Martin broke the world record for the most barrel rolls assisted by a cannon. So originally the racing specifications or whatever, I'm reading all this offline, meant that the standard ramp would not be sufficient to get the car to roll. So the special effects team installed an air-powered cannon behind the driver's seat. It allowed the car to complete 7 full rolls. Now, and it's still spinning. So there's a few times where it doesn't do a full roll, but you see it spinning. Like you said, it almost rotates completely, like almost 13 times. But it's 7 full rolls, and it was the most completed by the Guinness Book of World Records at that point. I don't know if they've since topped it, but yeah, practical effect. That was a real car spinning through the air like that.
That
was
is
just
crazy.
absolutely crazy. Just wild. But that I just love that. Yeah, so it's really cool like that, and it reminds me, it's very iconic, like the Christopher Nolan truck flipping scene, the semi truck in Dark Knight. It's just like it's like a jaw dropping moment where it's just like, how did they film that? Like, how did they get that vehicle? And again, there's so much emotional weight because again, this is like not like a Bond that we're used to. That's a womanizer. He actually feels for this girl. He's got this really deep, really emotional relationship with her, right? Because they already had that scene in the stairwell, and then she's taken from him. He's chasing her down, and then all of a sudden she's in the middle of the road, and he could actually be the one at fault for like having killed her, like chasing after these guys they threw out on the road. He just narrowly misses her at the expense of compromising himself, right? Because he's chasing the villains. There's a lot of emotion, and that's the thing too. See, what people don't understand is like there's a lot of emotional weight into the stunt. And that's why I think it even resonates further. Not only was it an impressive stunt, but there was so much at stake, right? Like Bond's, his muse is laying on the road, and he could have been the one responsible of killing her, and so he dives off the road. That's
The
just
love
an
of his
amazing
life.
scene. Yes.
I mean,
Amazing
later
scene.
after they get all googly on each other, after he gets rescued.
Yep.
Which, by the way, he gets rescued by White, Mr. White, which was a shock. Who got all the cash, the several, what was it, 10 or $100 million or something? He walked off.
Yeah.
10 times 10 play. Yeah, it had to be 100 million plus. That was crazy. That was crazy. Oh, just the fact that how much that she professed her love to him, and he sat there on the computer and said, "M, I'm done. I tender my resignation." And I was just like, wow, is the show going to end here?
I know.
What is going on?
Well, and
it's not the Bond we all know, like the womanizing. He's just like, I'm ready to settle down and quit my job. You're like, what?
Yeah.
It's too good to be true for him,
The man who is dispassionate.
Yes, exactly. Can't settle down, young buck. I love that term. Were you going to say something?
no,
go ahead.
no, I don't remember.
But I mean, it's kind of like, because you see that character come out at the very beginning, kind of, because when that girl, the first girl he makes love to in the show, when she's dead in the hammock.
Well, he actually
remember
doesn't
that?
though. Remember, he's
Well,
like,
yeah, he left, but he was starting the process, and he's all making out with her, and he just wanted
and
to
he
get.
womanized her to get to her husband, right? So it was like he just objectified her just to get.
well, and she
his
knew
own
about it.
end,
She even
right?
said, she's like, "You're just doing this to get to my husband, right?" And he's like, "Well, how much do you care?" She's like, "Not enough to stop." So.
Yeah, so they can't. Yeah. So, but after that whole sequence, the airplane that didn't get blown up, and Lashif is losing more millions of dollars because his stock didn't tank like he wanted it to.
Yep.
Let's see. The scene that I'm thinking of is, he goes back to the Bahamas and sees her dead in the hammock, and M is questioning him about the situation. He goes, "But are you back on?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm fine. The is dead. Let's move on."
Yeah, that was cold. That was cold.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, man, this is harsh.
Just
a different Bond.
very harsh,
That's all I
right.
can say.
Well, he said that line at the end when he thought she betrayed him, but he said something similar when the other girl in the hammock died as well. He's so cold. It's crazy.
Right. Well, and again, it's
Well,
like,
he
it's
thought
like
he was
utility,
betrayed
right?
by her.
Yep.
He
That's
thought he was
true.
betrayed
Yes.
by her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
'Cause it was the only girl that he truly fell for. Right.
M finally says, "Do you realize what happened?" She sentenced herself to death because she
Well, she saved him because they were going to
saved
kill him. Yeah.
They were going to kill him.
She did spare. Yeah, she did.
She spared his
him,
life.
So, made that deal. But then in the end, and so that's hard because it's like the ultimate betrayal from like Severus Snape. Some of the greatest betrayals, in movie history. It's just like you actually hate that person right before it, and then you realize they selflessly gave their life and sacrificed themselves so you could remain living. That's like the hardest, where you hate them right before they go, and then you learn posthumously that they actually sacrificed themselves for you. Ultimate gift, sacrifice their life, and it's like, and my last words for them were very harsh,
It's kind of funny.
Loving.
You used to ask the question, what was it like watching it the first time, and then what was it like watching it again for the podcast?
Oh, we forgot that. Yeah. What was that?
Yeah.
No,
Because
it's okay if you did, but I had this in my head. Watching it today for the podcast, there were certain times when I was watching and timing when they'd have an action sequence where there was like 15 minutes of the movie would go by with 2 or 3 words.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
long sequences. And the sequences were, like you said, the first one with the parkour, the fights, the chase scenes. I mean, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, the very beginning, he almost doesn't say anything. In fact, the whole chase sequence, right? I mean, they're not threatening each other on the catwalk. There's no monologuing. It's just like they look at each other. There's an understanding, and then they just start.
Well,
running.
even the guy who's like, listen to me. And then all of a sudden he just takes out his gun, boom, boom. He doesn't say anything.
The embassy just blows it up. Yeah, it just completely blows up the embassy.
I don't even know if you took that to Mythbusters, the MI's, the whole British Secret Service would have had to been dismantled after something like that. Because they're supposed to be,
or just
embassies are
Bond's
supposed
head.
to be, your only
Sacred.
safe place in the whole world.
I know,
that
but we love stuff like that because I was just watching Die Hard and they were so mad at John McClane for like completely going off the book and off script, like just doing things that cops should not do. There's something about just loving your hero doing things that like he shouldn't. Like M's so mad at him at Bond for just completely going off script, breaking into her house, like doing things that should have. I mean, he should have, like you said, they should would have changed everything, but it's just fun. I don't know.
That's kind of interesting that they used M in this movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Judi Dench, man, she's been around
Because
forever. It's
she's
like
been
the
around
one
forever.
constant.
She's been in several of the Bond shows. So if this is supposed to be the first, that was a bold move for them to say, "Hey, she's such a strong actress. She looks a little old, but not old enough that it would harm the character." And they let her be M.
Dad, but I love the comment though. Daniel Craig said, James Bond, he said, 007s have a short life expectancy. And so as soon as he said that, I'm like, it kind of plays into there could be essentially a universe in which there's lots of 007s. So as soon as one dies, boom, you got another movie with a new.
True.
So I'm just thinking of all the old James Bonds. It's like, yeah, over the course of history, there just has been all these different ones. Like, and so even though this is technically the first, I still think of it as kind of in this universe where there's just he's another one.
Yeah, it's his first.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like his mission.
His first, but not necessarily the first ever.
Kind of interesting then that all their names were James.
Yeah, just well, I mean, think of it. It's almost like a John Doe, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Bond. I mean, it's a very simplistic name almost.
Or this is Agent Johnson, Agent Johnson from Die Hard, and he's like, no relation.
Like the Bobs in Office Space.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Bobs.
Yep.
I'm going to go talk to the Bobs.
Hey, your name is Michael Bolton. Are you related to Michael Bolton?
Yeah, because we think he's great.
We think he's so great. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, he could change his name. Why do I have to change my name? He should change his name. He's the
Wait, what's Michael Bolton? What's that one from?
Office Space.
Office Space.
Oh, Office Space, sorry.
Yeah. He's got the same name as the singer. Yeah, anyway.
That was funny.
So we're gonna say 2 of our nitpicks or 2 least favorite things from this, if we can manage
dang.
it. If we can manage it, yeah. I don't know. I don't necessarily have a nitpick.
I don't.
Yeah, like I was just gonna
I
say,
had some
like,
questions, but then they answered them later on. I'm like, oh, I guess I don't have any questions.
Yeah. Sometimes you're like, wait, are they gonna address that later? Oh, yes, they did. Okay.
Yeah, like to me, after watching all these Bond movies for years now, I've seen 15, 20 of them, that to me, this was a leap. Like when Batman leaped.
The Dark Knight, right?
The Dark Knight.
Batman Begins, right? Yeah, Christopher Nolan's trilogy.
Yeah, and I was really surprised when that took off. It went from a comic book to actual emotion and drama, which was intense. And so for me, all the James Bond movies up to this point had been fluffy, and the man he has his little secret spy things, and he can shoot exploding pins, and his car will shoot out gas or smoke or oil on the street, and then here we come, a new Bond. He uses his hands, he uses his physical strength, which, by the way, the guy's pretty ripped.
Oh yeah.
He takes his
shit.
freaking
They-
shirt off. He's wearing them little whitey tighty or the little European bathing suit, which was embarrassing. But when he comes out of the water, you're like, shoot, this guy's
You could
ripped.
pull it off.
Yeah,
He can pull it
I
off.
love Lashif's comment to him too when he's right before he's about to whip him. He's like, oh, he's like, such a perfect body. What a shame. What a waste. And it just,
What a
I love
waste.
that. Yeah.
Because now I'm going to torture your.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Shoot.
Yeah, okay, I will say, yeah, that's my criticism. Of all the tortures in film, this one is, it's like,
The most
really hard to watch.
the
Yeah,
most
it's hard to
uncomfortable?
watch. Yes, it's like sinister. It's almost like, who would think up this kind of torture, right? Like when he grabs the knife, grabs a butterfly knife, he cuts out the bottom of a chair, you're like, what's gonna happen? Then he's just stripped naked, and he's just got this dumb rope with knots tied in it. It's just like this really thick rope, and he's just slapping him. Oh, it just hurts thinking about it.
That was
right? Like
a monkey
hollowed-out
paw.
chair.
It's a monkey paw. That's
that
what
what
it's
they
called.
call it?
When they wrap the rope like that, it's a monkey paw.
Oh,
They use
Yeah,
that
that just
in
hurts.
Panama. You know, they throw a line over to you, and they knot the rope like that so they can throw a little chaser rope. Then you tie your boat line off to it, and then they pull it back, and so they can tie your boat off to the, to the thing when you're going through the locks
dock.
in the Panama
That's-
Canal.
That is, yeah, that's my only sin against this movie is having to watch that torture, man. Like, oof, like it's one of those few.
I know,
that you
but all my
feel.
favorite quotes though come from that scene when he's like, I wrote them all down. One second.
I got to hear some of these because I watched
yeah.
that movie and I'm like, how do you quote some of these things? They're like so long.
Right. There's a great one though where it's just like,
And they
you
were
ready to talk?
bantering back and forth.
Yes,
It wasn't
yeah.
just like, I'm going to say one great line. It was great lines by everybody.
Oh yeah, like there's so many great conversations from this film.
But when
just
he
love
asked
what
for the martini, after he's been drugged or something, and he's like, do you want that shaken or stirred? Do you think I give a you know?
Yeah, he just lost that hand, and he's starting to get urgent. Yeah, and it's great too when things are going great, right? He tells the bartender this like elaborate drink, right? Shake it over ice, add a thin slice of lemon peel, and then they're all like, "Yes, I'll bring it." And then everyone's like, "You know what? I'll have one of those." And oh, so will I. And he's like, "Certainly." He's like, "Okay, can we just get on with the
Are
game?
we here to
Yes,
play
I
poker
love
now?
that.
Can we-"
Oh, so
Someone's in a hurry.
when he said, he's like, I've got an itch down there. Do you mind? And
There's an itch.
or after he just whipped him like 2 more times, and he's like, to the right, to the right. And then the guy's like, you're a funny man, Mr. Bond. And then he's like, and then he starts laughing after he's been whipped a bunch of times. And he goes, now the whole world's gonna know you were. He's like, you died scratching my.
That pissed him off so much that's when
I
he
know.
does that thing where he just throws his arms back and does that full chest kick and just
Yeah,
knocks
to the
him
floor.
back onto the ground. And you knew he had the knife in his hand and he was just about to remove his when all of a sudden Mr. White comes in with a gun and takes him out. Now that
it's
that
wild.
was so
Yeah.
mind-blowing that Mr. White had anything to do with this.
Yeah.
And his comment was, now I know who I can trust. Yeah. Well, I was like confused then. Are they going to use him later in a movie in the next sequel? Because at the end, he got away. I mean, he shot his knee, but he didn't kill him.
Right, right.
And then you see in the next movie, he makes a reappearance. So, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Right. Well, yeah, and they end it like it's almost like the movie almost drops entirely because it almost ends on like a total cliffhanger, like you said. Like it was like, oh yeah, we think you guys are gonna like what we have to show here, and sure enough, like I think it's one of the few Bond films that actually picked up immediately off where the last one ended. Usually they're kind of like one-off movies, at least as far as I can remember. The Pierce Brosnan ones were all one-offs. Very rarely would it be immediately taking place of the events of the first one. Mm-hmm. And mixed feelings about Quantum of Solace. We don't have to get too much into that. Skyfall comes back for an amazing third installment of this franchise. And then Spectre, which kind of, again, it's just like up and down, up and down. I'm hoping their turn is to go up. So based on that metric, we have.
Well, I'm still really nervous
2,
because
not so good, 3 great, 4 not
I
so
feel
good.
like
5. Let's hope it's on.
It would almost guarantee go up if they had Danny Boyle. I'm still so mad that they didn't have Danny Boyle direct this new one. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll
that
see.
was in safe hands, but
I watched the
sometimes,
trailer and I'm like, I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I mean, either way, as long as it's just entertaining, is that too much to
Yeah.
ask? And yeah, so
Well,
Well,
if they're
they
if
always
they're
do.
bringing back the Austin Martin with machine guns out of the headlights, it might go back to old school. I don't know.
Yeah,
Right.
good point.
Yeah, yeah, old timey.
And since
Now we
nobody,
just have to
Yeah,
wait for him to put on a jetpack and just fly out at the end.
It's when you jump the shark. It's like when you literally pull out a full-blown jetpack where he's just a personal flying machine. And that was actually the other thing. Like, I would almost not call it a gripe, but it was just like one thing to notice is like this movie, aside from a defibrillator, there's really no gadgets per se, right? Like, it's all the hand-to-hand combat guns and the vehicles that he drives, but nothing special or spy-y about it, no listening devices really. There's no, but like you said, there's agents and there's double crossing, and that's where the movie actually gets interesting, because it's the characters and their relationship to each other, which is what another, it's not even a nitpick, it's just another thing I like about this film. They don't rely heavily on the gadgets. It's like, as fun as it is to see someone have a pen that's actually a grappling hook, or a pen that's actually a tape recorder. It's like, okay, like,
but that's why you have
Like,
Batman and his utility belt, because
Yeah,
he's got all those
right,
things
yeah.
on him.
Just-
That's
But see, and that's again Christopher Nolan, to his credit. It's like the only things he has are like battering rings, or like literal like daggers that he can throw, or like bombs or smoke grenades. Like, that's it. There's not the bat credit card, or there's not the
bad
all the
credit
other
card.
shark repellent. Yeah, it's not the outlandish stuff. So they just kept it simple, and that's why I think this.
Well,
movie
but
really
Dad
benefits
even
from.
said though that they did the same thing with The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, is where they kind of flipped the script, just like they did with Casino Royale. It's like they finally figured out what this new generation is kind of for. It's
Grisly, gritty torture and awesome fight sequences, less dialogue, less womanizing, just the freaking action. Men were married to the action in this film, not to the silhouettes of dancing women, right? They're all like, just give me the punches, man. Give me some parkour in my Hollywood blockbuster.
well, they still snuck in some stuff. But they kind of addressed that, the whole like, I like how she's like, what the whole scene where she's trying to figure out what dress to wear, and he's trying to figure out what suit, and she's like, I sized you up the moment I saw you. I just, anyways, but yeah, he put her in that dress, and then so everybody
Strong
could.
women.
Well, but he had her in the dress so that people could, stare at her and be distracted. So they still kind of used that, a little bit.
But she was supposed to walk into the room, right? But she didn't. She wasn't like.
I know,
like
she was
hesitant
showing
to
him. I
objectify
love
herself.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
She
I
did
love
it from
that
the
too.
get-go, when they were on the train for their first meet.
Yes.
And
Great
just
scene.
the attitude of her taking her purse and flinging it to the other chair and plopping herself down. And he pegged her so good,
Yep.
being the dominant woman, wearing a more of a manly suit, and what do you call that? A cut suit for a woman instead of like a dress.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, he
I
pegged
love
her
when he
so
says
good.
when he's like, you're not my type, and she goes, what, smart? And he's like, no, single.
married. Oh, single. Yeah. Meaning she wasn't married, because he likes married women. It's less complicated. Can we even talk about that? That is so bad. We shouldn't say that.
Why is it the people that always can't take advice always insist on giving it?
Dang it, that was my
Back
quote.
and
I
forth,
love that quote.
Back and forth. They were at each other's throats, and it almost plays like a great rom-com where it's like the two least likely people to end up together through their
Well, the ending tied
Well,
them.
she actually saved his life twice, by the way. His defibrillator didn't work because he passed out, right?
Yep.
After he got poisoned, and she was literally there to bring him back. So, and that another great line is just when he gets back down, he goes, "Oh, Mr. Bond, is our game a little stressful for you? You seem to be transpiring or whatever." He's like sweating, right? And he's just like, "Yeah, that last hand nearly killed me." It's like, like he just
I
got
love that
poisoned by
quote.
him. That's so great. I freaking love that. We're gonna get
But
right
you know
into
what?
favorite quotes.
Back in the old days, if there were lines to be had, all the old movies had 5 or 6 every episode.
Yeah.
Every show had like 5 or 6. I was actually surprised after I watched this today. That was the only quote in the whole movie that kind of came off like that, where it was kind of a play on words. Yeah. So, I mean, that was just an observation, because back in the old days, every 15 minutes, they'd be going, wow, almost lost my head on that one. You know, and just silly things that they'd say, but you're just like, oh, wow.
I know. I love all the quotes. I mean, goodness gracious. Even the old ones, I'm just thinking of the guy, like, he's got him on the laser machine. He's like, "You expect me to talk?" It's like, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die."
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Goldfinger, right? Yeah, it's those
Goldfinger.
There's always like these monologues, and actually that's one of the things actually, not to its detriment. They risk the move with like someone like Lashif. Guy has freaking asthma. He's got like a classic villain, scar where his eyes like all wonky and stuff,
and
like
it bleeds,
scrape,
and it bleeds.
Yeah, and he's kind of dorky, and he's actually very desperate. Like you find out he's being threatened by higher ups than him, right? So he's actually a desperate guy. And I don't know. That's kind of risky. That's not like the classic Bond villain that's always like one step ahead, that has all the power and just at his disposal. It's actually like kind of a guy that's backed into a corner. He's like out of cards to play himself. So he needed to win just as much as Bond did. So it kind of upped the stakes for both the protagonist and the antagonist.
He had two people after him. He not only had White, he not only had Mr. White after him at the end when he shot him with his silencer, but he also had the guy that at the very beginning of the movie when he took their
arms
money.
Dealer, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the arms dealer.
Or I don't know if they were arms dealers, but yeah, the guys, where were they from? Mumbai? I can't even remember, but yeah, they all show up in the apartment threatening his girl and threatening to chop off her hand.
And he doesn't even flinch when he's going to cut off his girlfriend's hand. You should get a new boyfriend.
He's so weak. But what he was a mathematical genius, which was kind of an interesting thing. He didn't have to win it. He didn't have to torture him by killing him. He, earlier in the show, he just wanted to beat him, and he could do it by rattling off I've got a 13% chance. You've got a 13% chance of winning, and I know that I've got a 75% chance with this. And him throwing out numbers like that, you're just like, oh yeah, he's counting cards or no statistics that well.
He has a tell. Yeah, he puts his finger up. Yeah.
Oh, that first tell was a lie.
Yep. Well, or no, he caught him in it, right? And then he let what's the guy that double crossed them? The guy that wasn't working for White.
Oh, I forgot.
He was
name.
the trio with him and Vesper, James Bond and Vesper, and the one guy that gets tased in the back.
I love that shot. Just drink this.
Yeah, he double crossed them, right? I can't even remember his character's name.
He did double cross him. He double crossed him twice.
And so he told the chief that Bond was onto his tell, and so that's why he used the tell. Yeah. James Bond went all in and nearly lost everything. He did lose everything. They had to front more money. Yeah,
the CIA guy covered his backside with another 50 million. Chump change.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. He's like, "Do you think we need the money?"
Do you think we need the money? He goes, "What do you want?
And then,
you want the money back? Do you think we need the money?" Yeah, that CIA just wanted to bring him in. And the CIA didn't even get him after all that.
Nope. And thankfully, thanks to Mr. White, man, thankfully that would have gone awry for sure.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna go into favorite quotes and most quotable scenes. One of mine, again, on the train. It's just like, you can switch off so easily, can't you? It doesn't bother you killing those people. And he goes, well, it would be very good at my job if it did. It's so good. Like, stone cold killer. Like, he's so good. And then one other scene I loved when he goes and sneaks into M's place, and he's just like, I always thought M was a randomly assigned initial. I had no idea that it stood for. And he's about to say her name, and she's like, utter one more syllable, and I'll have you killed. Like, again, Judi Dench did such a good job at, like, even though, like you said, like an older actor, she's just like, she demands so much presence when she's in the room, right? She's like so freaking strong. She's brooding. She's like mean. She's calloused, but she just man, like, puts Bond in his place. You know, you think like, he's like the only woman that he ever feared.
She is larger than life in that show. Yeah,
exactly.
She took it home. That was a good cast. Good casting. I got to pay tribute to that. That was some great casting in that show. The villains looked good. Because when you see the headshots, on the screen when you hit pause or something, on Hulu or whatever I was watching it on, Prime.
Amazon Prime.
It'll show you who all the characters are there for just a moment. And it's kind of like they don't look anything like their headshots.
Yes.
Except Daniel Craig. Everyone else kind of had, all these different looks, so...
Yeah. Another great line when they're talking, they're like trying to track Bond. He goes, he's logged into a secure website using your name and password, and she's like, Em's like, how the hell does he know these things? Like, I love it. Like, he's like you can't keep a leash on this guy, right? Like, I think that's so great.
I know.
It's
I
so
love
cool.
how
Like,
much
this rogue
he
agent
drives her
that-
crazy. I love
right,
it.
right.
Okay, this is so silly. Here's my favorite quote of the whole darn movie. Ow.
Yeah.
What part?
When they put the little tracking device in his arm. This guy's been brutally beaten up. Never says a dang word. He shook his head a few times. But here he has a little tracking device put in his arm and he goes, ow. I just laughed. I laughed at that moment because I'm like, yeah, right.
I love that.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, there's so many iconic things, but yeah, great back and forth from some of the characters. But I think one of the last ones I was going to mention, I had it written down, but I can't find it. Any other quotes that you guys can think of?
Nah, in my head, I said earlier, there were so many back and forth. It wasn't like a one-liner like you'd hear from Jim Carrey. Earthquake test.
It's more like segments, right? It's like a whole scene.
It was more like segments. It wasn't just like, oh, he lost his head. You know, they were more back and forth comments.
Banter. So
yeah,
good.
more banter. And the bantering was
quick
good.
writing. Yeah.
Like
Quick
even at the
writing,
beginning when he says, made him feel it. Made you feel it, did he? You know, like during that death sequence, he goes, he made you feel that experience of death. And then when he was about to say that it was the second, he shoots him and goes, yes, considerably. That was just too crazy. And from that moment,
so gold.
From that moment on, I was like totally hooked. And that's kind of my style of a movie. If I go to a movie, I don't want to go in tearing it apart, critically analyzing it the first time. First time I go in, I want to cry, I want to laugh, I want to bite my fingernails, I want to do everything I want to experience and feel everything that movie has to give.
Well, and didn't they hit all the old notes of the old films? Like they even had that circle over the screen. Like he turned around and shot the guy after he just suffocated him in the water. Like they just had all the old classic moments.
Most unkillable first victim, by the way.
Yeah.
After destroying that bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
Wrecked.
Yeah, I
Leaving
can
it
just
pretty
see
much
the
how
guy.
leave my
I
bathroom
can just
after
see the
Top Gun.
janitor coming in the next morning to clean that bathroom.
Yeah, but didn't it kind of make you
bleeding
feel nostalgic, Dad, for like the old Bond movies, watching them with your dad? Because it's just like I feel like it hit all the beats of the old ones, but while still being completely new. So
Okay,
Yes.
wait a
Blew it
second.
out of the water.
In all the movies of all the old James Bond, they have never had a fight sequence like that. They've never had a parkour sequence like that. That's why I'm saying it. To me, the movie did a leapfrog right there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Kind of like when Batman leapfrog away from, Mr. Ice or the Penguin or, those old ones where you're kind of like, well, yeah, it's cute.
What are you saying, Dad? Mr. Freeze, ice to meet you.
Right. Oh, yeah. No good. So, any other quotes, or let's go on to? I guess we all can admit who wins this performance. I mean, it's great, all the characters and the dialogue back and forth. But let's be real here. I think this is the greatest Bond the greatest Bond we've had to date. I think Daniel Craig demands performance. He was pretty much a pretty unknown actor up until this point. I think he was starred in Munich, which is probably his biggest film, but he played a supporting role. He just steals the show. Daniel Craig, like out of nowhere. I don't think anyone knew.
Well, if you look online, though, the biggest, most popular one is Goldfinger. So Sean Connery is apparently like the most classic.
Iconic, true, but
Iconic.
I mean, Daniel Craig is still doing these films, And
That's
again,
true.
I remember he was like on his way out the door after Skyfall, and yet he did two more.
Two more.
Yeah, and it's like,
People can't
Again,
get enough of him. I do love him.
right, yeah, and it's crazy because they touch on issues like, he's aging, and I love that in Skyfall, right? Like his whole aging is part of like the whole problem that the character's facing, right? And
Oh, and they
his
let him
past
they
and
let him back in even though he didn't pass.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like again, letting he was reckless before. He's breaking all the rules, and now they're gonna bend some rules to keep him in because there's nothing beats the experience that this guy carries. And he proves it in this film. So I love this. We're gonna say any last final remarks that you wanted to say from the for Casino Royale.
Did we say if we recommend it already or not?
We're gonna get to that. I just didn't know if you guys had anything else you wanted to.
No, I love
add.
the building sinking into the water. Like that was radical. That end scene.
Yeah, talk about just pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And a nail gun right to the face and the eye patch. That's great. That's
he
just
gets one and Daniel Craig Bond gets one right in the back shoulder, and he's so pissed off he just reaches back there and pulls it right out of his back. And if you see the blood on the nail, it's like 4 inches. Like, how did it go? That was like a 4-inch nail, and 3 inches of it was in his bone.
Oh, gross. Yeah. Woo! I guess when you have adrenaline pumping through your veins.
Okay, now wait. When you said, was there a part in the movie that I would tear apart? Because you just mentioned that scene, the building sinking, which is spectacular, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you noticed, he'd shoot the balloons in the water, and they'd explode. Why were they bubbling for like 20 minutes? When you pop a balloon doesn't pop for 5 minutes. A balloon pops immediately.
But that was filled with, these things are, I don't know. They're big, right? Don't they, I don't know. Yeah,
come on, you're asking me to like nitpick something. That would be
okay, balloons are made out of like that certain material that once you pop it, it'll just like rip open really quick. But these things are made out of probably something that air will slowly leak out. See what I'm saying?
But
if you shoot a big fun house, it doesn't. No, Ty, shoot a big fun house. I'm serious. It's not going to just all of a sudden fall down instantly or explode and kids all go flying.
That's true. Air is going to be escaping.
Yeah, it's going to slowly leave. Thank you, material son.
But it doesn't rip. Yeah.
But even at the end, and he's trying to do chest compressions on her, the bubbles and the stuff still raging up top. I'm just like, oh boy.
It makes for a great visual. I'm just saying.
It was a good visual because if it was just the water being gentle, it wouldn't have seemed so traumatic. So it was necessary, but in my head, that was the only thing. That was the only thing in the whole dang movie that was like, really? So other than that, I loved it. Dang.
So good.
And I
Would you
go for it.
Would you recommend this movie, Dad?
Oh, heck yeah. And it's not only just a recommendation, it's a recommendation to watch it 3 or 4 times.
You don't know how many people I've turned on to Bond because of this movie. So many college friends that never seen any Bond movies, and then I watched this for the first time, and they're like, are there more of these? And they are so excited because this is such a good movie. And I got people that are obsessed with now Daniel Craig and the Bond series, so...
I'm going to challenge everyone here. Name one Bond that isn't Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig, or Sean Connery.
Sean Connery? What's the other guy's name?
Roger Moore.
Yes.
There you go. Dad's got it.
There you go. That's the only other one I knew. It's like, you got me, because that's it. That's all I know. Those are the 4 Bonds that I know of, and I know there's plenty more. Like, there's been ones that have only been played by, like, one actor of one film because they were so bad, but... That's pretty much all the Bonds I can name. It's like trying to name the Beatles after all these years. You're like, I know Ringo and Paul McCartney. You're like, the other Beatles.
John.
John.
Yeah, John. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm just giving an example. Like most people.
Gotcha.
Bad example.
Popular.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. Well, everyone knows the Beatles. Excuse me.
Ty, do the 4 Musketeers. Try to name those. That's hard.
Artemis. I'll never forget Artemis.
Yeah, because of Slumdog
Artemis?
Millionaire.
Probably.
Yeah.
But is it Artemis? Did I say that right?
Artemis
And Dimitri,
Fowl
right?
or whatever, yeah. No, that's somebody else.
Well, it's not Artemis Fowl. Artemis Fowl is a different property. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into the movies that we've seen lately and movies that you're looking forward to seeing. Let's start with you, Jordan.
What did I watch? I just watched...
Die Hard.
Thank you. I watched Die Hard with my roommates for the first time. I've seen it many times, but they watched it for the first time. And I got to tell you, we have to do that on pod. It's such a good movie. And it is such a bro movie. Can I just tell you? Like, watching it in a room full of guys it's the best experience ever. Like, I watched it with my sales team in California as well. and it was such a treat because we were just laughing hysterically at so many moments, so many good classic moments.
Now, was it the tower or was it the airplane?
It's the first one, the tower.
Tower. With Alan Rickman.
Yes.
One of the greatest villains.
He will not be joining us for the rest of his life.
Can't help it when Bruce Willis says "Yippee-ki-yay, mother," and then boom. That was pretty cool.
You know what's really fun about that? I love so much trivia from the Die Hard, but like Alan Rickman, that was his first movie debut. Like he was always a stage actor before that, and like he just blows it out of the water. So he's great.
And then obviously I'm excited to see the new 007 movie. Obviously.
Yeah.
And I actually watching this movie, Casino Royale, the guy that works for the CIA, he's going to be the new Penguin in the new Batman movie, and so I rewatched that trailer, getting excited about that too.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, he's not Penguin. I'm sorry, he's not Penguin.
Yeah,
he's
Gordon.
Commissioner Gordon.
Commissioner Gordon. Yeah. I know who you were talking about.
Wow.
Yeah, Penguin's gonna be Colin Farrell, and he looks not like Colin Farrell. They use a handsome Colin Farrell, and they make him look chubby, overweight, like Penguin probably would look. But I'm like, why would you try to de-age or like, age Colin Farrell? You have such a handsome man. But I love it.
Oh, I love it.
All for it, man. Make your actors uglier. I just love that. It's like just make them eat bacon grease and butter and fatten them up. You know. Okay. Any other films, Jordan, you're looking forward to?
No.
Perfect. So I actually was really busy this week. I got to watching a lot of movies because I got all excited about watching these movies. I watched a special little movie called Unhinged, starring Russell Crowe. We'll be discussing that on a future bonus episode of the podcast. I won't get too much into that. I also watched a crazy movie called The Possessor. It's David Cronenberg's
What did you think about that? Yeah.
Holy cow! It's like so sad, but again, what's really funny is like the movie centers around the plot is the assassination of a character who happens to be the actor Sean Bean. I can't even spoil it, but it's like this actor is notable for his movie deaths. Like
good point. He does die in all his movies.
I wonder if he actually dies or not. Like, and all the mystery and suspense is taken out of it when I found out that it was actor Sean Bean. Like, I would wager he's going to die. Like, but anyway, yeah, it was like.
Well, but this movie's almost like how he dies. It's so disgusting.
I know. Well, that's
no, he doesn't die. He doesn't die. Remember, he lives.
Yeah. That's the thing. I don't know if you can call it living after you've had like a stick gouge out your eyeball. Like it's so disgusting, so gratuitous. But what's really impressive is some of the effects that they use, and some of the visual motifs that they use for like transferring someone's conscious. The whole plot centers around an assassination. They send this woman and she can inhabit the body of someone, and they it's kind of like a possession, but like a mind meld, kind of like Inception in a way, like meets. I'm trying to think of like what's another movie.
They did one with
the Get Out movie. Yeah. Like you put the host somewhere far away, and then you're inhabiting their body. Really great film though. That's a really fun one. And then I also watched The Black Box, which was on Amazon Prime. It's actually kind of similar to The Possessor. I was like on this like sci-fi movie binge, and they try to download someone's dead son into the conscious. It's okay. I actually like The Possessor way more. Black Box was fine. And then I watched The Backcountry, which was like an indie survivor thriller movie about two campers going into the woods. It's pretty thrilling. I really enjoyed it.
I like it. Yeah.
Whoa. Scary bear. Yeah.
I'm taking notes over camping here, guys, because you guys are just. Yeah. Where do you get all this time to watch movies? Don't you have jobs?
Yeah, kids. I just don't sleep ever, Dad. Yeah, you just stay up late night and you just don't sleep, and you just that's how you get them done. So, but yeah, that's a great one, and it's kind of a fun survival indie, but great film, Backcountry. So, love it. So those are the movies I've seen, and what I'm looking forward to seeing is I wrote it down. 1 second.
Another David Cronenberg movie? Oh, please.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I'm going to be starting looking at. I want to start following directors more, so I was actually going to see all the rest of Martin Scorsese's films, and then I was going to be looking more into any other Stanley Kubrick films that I've never seen. Like I watched Barry Lyndon like earlier this year, and I remember thinking like, I'll never see that movie again, but I'm glad I watched it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm like, holy cow! Like this is
Wow.
an incredible scope of a film, right?
Wow. It's interesting because back in the day when I was growing up, it's like, I'm going to follow Steven Spielberg. I'm going to follow Jerry Bruckheimer. And now I'm listening to you guys say this, and I'm like, oh, I get it. I'm going to follow this guy. Yeah. That's interesting.
Well, right. Well, and again, to me, sometimes it's kind of fun because I used to, when I was younger, I used to like follow the actors because like they're the ones on screen, they demand your presence. But in the end, it's like when you start learning directors, they actually speak more through their actors and their visual motifs. Like watch a Quentin Tarantino film and tell me
because they have a
that
crew.
he is not complete. Yeah, exactly. But that's why it's fun too that you have a lot of these directors that repeat actors because once they understand, they're on the same wavelength. That's what makes it so much more enjoyable. But even watch like I would say like Kurt Russell, you know, in 2 of Quentin Tarantino's films, you watch him and he's a different actor when he's working with Tarantino than he is when he's doing films like, I don't know, Poseidon and other films, right? Like even the actor is channeled differently when they work with other directors. So, but so that's why I kind of like watching directors because you can see their evolution. Like it's really fun to watch chronologically their films. It's just been a hobby of mine. So anyway, that's what I'm looking forward to. That's a whole discussion for another time. But looking forward to it. I'm gonna see the rest of Kubrick and watch the rest of.
Have you seen The Killing yet?
Martin Scorsese. Yes, I love The Killing. Well, see,
So
that
good.
was another movie I watched. I love this year. In
Killing.
fact,
Tell me.
The Killing.
Stanley Kubrick.
That's like the original heist movie.
Yeah.
Like the original Ocean's 11. It came out. It stars what's his face that gets shot in The Godfather. He's like an old timey actor. I can't remember anything about it.
Like different than The Heat, though. Just way different.
Yeah.
Well, it like inspired The Heat. It's like literally The Heat before The Heat existed. Black and white. It's got a femme fatale. It's got like the narc that like ruins the whole operation. It's like everything. It's like Logan Lucky meets Heat meets all the. It's so great though. It's like the original heist movie. And Stanley Kubrick, when he made it, there was like an MPAA ratings like required that. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but like again, it was just
don't spoil it
at the time. Yeah, but there was a requirement at the end that Stanley Kubrick's hand was actually forced into ending his movie in a certain
because
way.
it wasn't the
industry
MPAA
standards.
It's called Hays Code.
The Hays Code.
It was changed now to the MPAA, but back in the day it used to be called the Hays Code. And that's why he had to change the ending. It's the same
so
with
Stanley Kubrick, who's very meticulous. His hand was forced outside of his.
It's the same as It's a Wonderful Life.
Wishes.
They were actually told that the evil guy was not supposed to get away with that, but because he was such a grumpy old man, they let it get away with it because
they let him get away with it because again he didn't get what he wanted. But yeah, it was like, hey, you need more comeuppance for your villains. Basically, they did. Wow. Can you believe that Hollywood had this moral where they're like, hey, don't let the bad guys get away. We're gonna have a society where people think you can be a bad person. Now you have movies like Possessor, and the bad guys get away with it. and
the sad thing is you're kind of rooting for them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Look,
right.
Like you never would see 5 seasons of Breaking Bad. Like the Hays Code would have had a conniption if they saw things like Breaking Bad in their day.
Yeah.
Like
how
I'm
did
sorry,
they keep getting away with
chemistry
this?
teacher gets cancer and then cooks crystal meth and doesn't get caught. Excuse me.
Because his name is Heisenberg.
Say my name.
Say my name.
Oh man,
gosh,
Dad,
dang
have you
right.
seen anything lately? Are you looking forward to anything coming out?
Yeah, I've actually watched one show that I would recommend just because I kind of like those some of these movies where someone's been duped their whole life. It's a movie called Run. Run. So I'm not going to say any more about it. You can look it up. It's about a girl.
What is
about
it
a mother.
streaming on?
It's a mother who's taking care of her child, and you just got to watch it.
What is it streaming on, Dad?
That's probably a Prime or a Netflix. I don't think I would have gone anywhere else for it, but
okay. Is it a newer film or is it an older one?
I got one of those. No, it's a little bit newer, but I mean, it's one of those movies where you just, I just talk into my phone. I want action, drama, or whatever, and it throws up a bunch of movies, and then I just kind of pick one randomly. I picked Run, so.
Oh, it looks fun, like an indie film. Oh, and then I almost forgot, just with the Christmas holiday coming up, that Mel Gibson film, Fat Man. I'm kind of excited to see that. Like, if I can get my hands on that. That was one that piqued my interest.
Man?
Fat Man.
Yeah, the Fat Man. It looks interesting.
It's Mel Gibson, and he's like Old Saint Nick, and I love these weird like indie grisly Santa Claus movies where he has this kid that he gives coal to, and the kid sends an assassin to kill Santa Claus. so he's like this wizened, grumpy old Santa Claus, and I'm just like, that's a role that Mel Gibson should be playing these days, you know? So
today, some kids deserve a lump of coal.
Yeah, the kid, it looks so funny, and the assassin that's sent for him, he's the guy in Vice Principals. Jordan, what's his name? Not Danny McBride, but the other one. What's his name?
Oh yeah, I don't remember his
Crazy
name.
Texan from Shanghai Noon. I can't remember who he is. He's great. But so that's one other film I'm excited to go see when that finally comes available. Well, great. So
I've got one closing thought.
Yeah.
I can't
Please.
wait for all of us to get together again sometime and just go to a
absolutely.
movie theater and watch a
Yes.
show.
Absolutely.
I mean, the last time I've seen a movie with you, Ty, was where? I was in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
We went to
That's
Wisconsin.
Likely. I'm trying to think. Hercules wasn't the last one we saw. That was way too long ago.
That was way early. We were in Wisconsin.
We were in Wisconsin.
That's
What did
right,
we
we
see,
saw
though?
Hercules.
What did we see? What did we see, though?
I know it was a big one.
Yeah, what did we... I know we saw Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. That was me and you. Did me, you, and Maddie go to a film in St. George?
That's possible.
I know.
I remember.
I know we saw
I remember
Interstellar. I know we saw Interstellar.
Yeah. Are you talking
And we
about?
saw-
Are you talking about?
And your anniversary.
Yeah.
Dad, where we spent
Well,
Dumb and Dumber
we're not
2
going to talk
and
about
The
that.
Mockingbird.
Shh, quiet. Shh.
doing a double feature?
Not fair. Not fair.
Can't think of
Dumb
a
and
better
Dumber
use of
2.
time. Dumb and Dumber 2 and the Mockingjay or whatever it was, right? One of the Hunger Games. I'm glad we saw Dumb and Dumber because I needed to laugh after one of those depressing Hunger Game movies, man.
Yeah.
So
Like I said, I'm
depressing.
looking forward to it. That'll mean so much to me. Just to, and then walk out of the movie theater just laughing.
Yeah,
I mean, it could be
yeah,
a drama,
absolutely.
it could be a rom-com. Doesn't matter what it is. We're going to walk out of that theater laughing, quoting lines, and just
And then
tearing
when
up.
we make fun of you or your age or your old wizened bones dad, you'll just say, Ty, grab the water bottle.
Quiet.
Quiet. Stop fighting.
Stop fighting.
Oh. All
He's
right,
touching
everybody.
me.
Everybody, leave your reviews, 5-star reviews. Write us email, futuromovies@gmail.com. Don't forget to take a screenshot of you listening to Futro, one of our Futro channels. Futro Late Night, Futro Quest, or Futro Hidden Movie Gems, and take a screenshot, post it on your Instagram, get cool people to start listening to this podcast. And no uggos. All right, everybody. Signing off. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.
Right.